Welcome to the orientation. I call these sessions Heart Path Journeys because in my experience we're really discovering how to journey into our own heart and find the pathway for doing that so that we can access the skills, resources, and qualities available to us within so that we can take them back out into the world and share them out where it matters in our lives, in our relationships, in our workplace, everywhere. The work that we're going to be doing together in this orientation is really going to be to set the tone, to share with you some principles and some understandings that will make the work of the sessions to come more valuable, more understandable, and to deepen your experience with them. And I also like to use the orientation time as an opportunity for you to really set your intention. And so I ask you to just take a moment and ask yourself, what is it that I'm seeking this material for? What would the outcome be if I could have my life be anything? What do I want it to look like? What would I like my relationships to be like? What would the quality of my relationships be? What about my workplace? What would the quality of my work be? It's not so important to me that you know what you want to do as you know the energy with which you'd like to do it. And if you're a parent, what do you want your parenting and your family to be like? What's the energy that you want to embrace? And take a peek at your own self-esteem as well, because this is one of the crux of the issues as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the foundational pieces that we want to go in and identify, what's my relationship with myself? Do I love myself? It's often easy to say, oh, sure, I love myself. But do you really value yourself? Do you know your importance? Do you know what you believe in? Do you know what you love? Do you know what's lovable about you? It's really valuable to take a look at those things and really learn to drop in and access what I call the authentic self. Now, one of the things that I want to do in this orientation is unpack spiritual cliches or personal growth cliches, if you will. One of them is this concept of being authentic or being who you really are. We hear this term all the time. You've got to be who you really are. You need to be transparent. You need to be authentic. And I've even heard people say, well, who else am I going to be but who I really am? As if this concept is just ridiculous. And I understand that thinking. The reality is, though, in my experience, we operate from two parts of our being, typically. One is our authentic, highest self. That's the one we want to operate from. The other is the ego mind. And in my experience, most of us are operating from the ego mind, and it really doesn't serve us. And so I want to, in the next few sessions, I'm going to be showing you how to recognize the ego mind at play or at work, as it could be, and watch what it does so that you can realize that when you allow your ego to make your decisions for you, when you allow your ego to choose your words for you, when you allow your ego to dictate your actions, and even determine what you believe, that you will often end up crashing into the very things that you don't want. And what we want to do is learn how to regroup, connect with who we really are so that we can move in the direction we do want. And that's what we're going to be learning in the sessions ahead, is empowering you to do and say and feel and believe all of the things that move you in the direction of the life you want to live. One of the things that I also want to share with you in this session, as you start to identify your intentions and what it is that you want, one of the reasons for doing that is that it triggers what's called the reticular activating system in your mind. Now, that's a big fancy word for a very cool concept. The reticular activating system is a filter in your brain that filters in what's important to you based on your stated or maybe not even stated, but just based on your intentions and your goals and what's important to you and what matters to you. It filters in information to assist you with what's important to you, while simultaneously filtering out information that's not important to you. Because if we allowed everything in all the time at the same time, we would become overwhelmed and bombarded, and it would short circuit us as we go forth. So the reticular activating system clicks into gear when you take that time to state your intentions. So when I ask you, what's the quality of relationships that you want, and you say, I want to have a healthy, harmonious relationship, then your reticular activating system immediately starts looking for ways to assist you in creating healthy, harmonious relationship. We've all had an experience of the reticular activating system working, but we may not have known what it was. It would be the thing where if you have somebody, well, I'll give you an example from my own life. I dated a guy at one point who drove a cement truck. And at the time, if you had asked me if there were any cement trucks in my community, I would have told you absolutely not. I never saw cement trucks. But the minute I started dating somebody who drove one, cement trucks became important to me, and my reticular activating system started saying, oh, cement trucks are important. Let's watch for cement trucks. And then everywhere I looked, I would see cement trucks. And I'd think it was him, and it wasn't, over and over again, until I realized that there were millions of cement trucks in the community I lived in. And you may have had that experience with somebody that you love or care about who gets a new car, and you go, wow, I've never seen a car like that, or I've never seen a car that color. And then the next thing you know, you leave them and you're driving down the street and you see them all the way down the road. It's not that those cars just materialized. It's that they suddenly became important to you, and your reticular activating system began letting that information in. The same thing would be true if you and I were driving down the road together and I was hungry and you needed cash. We're driving down the same street and I would be seeing every restaurant and you'd be seeing every potential ATM machine or bank. Even though we're driving down the same road, our reticular activating systems are filtering for what's important to us. And I share this with you because it's really valuable when you sit down and say, what are my intentions? What is it that I'm trying to bring forth? What matters to me? Because you send a very strong message to your reticular activating system of what you want to bring into your life. And at the same time, I invite you to consider and maybe even spend some time writing down, what do you want to release, let go of, and be free from? Is there anger you want to let go of? Is there someone you need to forgive? Is there something from the past that you want to be free from? And maybe it's a person that you want to sever your ties with. Just notice, what do you want to be free from? And make that a clear intention, because that too will set your reticular activating system into action to assist you and support you on your way. One of the principles, or the concepts, if you will, that I want to make sure I share with you right from the start is that of the labyrinth. And the reason for that is that I refer to it and utilize it through all my teachings because it is such a beautiful symbol and such a beautiful experiential tool for all of the things I share. So first and foremost, I want you to understand that this labyrinth is the Chartres Cathedral labyrinth, and it is in the floor of the Chartres Cathedral, which is about 40 minutes outside of Paris in France. And it was built 800 years ago, around 1200 AD, and it's believed that it was part of the spiritual tradition at that time to take a pilgrimage to places like Jerusalem. The challenge was that the Crusades were going on, so if somebody were to save up the money and find the time and make that extensive journey to Jerusalem, on their way they could encounter religious wars and end up getting done in. It is believed that they put the labyrinth within the floor of the church where people could walk that symbolic or metaphoric pilgrimage within the safety of the church. So this is a beautiful process, and you'll find labyrinths in almost every community if you're interested in trying it. Something to know about the labyrinth, just in case you do want to go walk it, is that the language of the labyrinth is metaphor, and just as this is a metaphoric pilgrimage, everything you experience on the labyrinth is symbolic or metaphoric of what you want to see in yourself. And so if you're walking the labyrinth and you're impatient, the labyrinth is showing you your impatience. If you're walking it and you're judgmental, it's showing you that. If you're preoccupied thinking about something else, it's revealing to you that you're not present. And all of those things allow you to look at them, say, oh, that's interesting that I did that. Let me bring myself back into the present moment and move forward from here in alignment with what I'm here to do. So the labyrinth is a beautiful path of peace, prayer, contemplation, or as a symbolic pilgrimage with the center representing the sacred destination. And I should say, for those of you not familiar, it's not a maze. So if you look at it, there really are no dead ends, there are no tricks, there's no decisions to make. It's just the one path that leads you all the way into the center, and the same path brings you back out. So I often teach the labyrinth as a place of pilgrimage or contemplation, and that's a beautiful path for that. But in addition to that, I started looking at this as a blueprint of us as human beings, and that's really the piece that I want to bring to this conversation, because in my experience, we all, just like the labyrinth, have a beautiful sacred center, that sacred destination, if you will, that's peaceful, ever-present, unwavering, centered, powerful, strong. And we all have that soul essence, that peaceful aspect of ourselves, where if we go there, we have access to our creativity, we have access to our imaginations, we have access to our intuition, our wisdom, our compassion, our understanding, all the skills and tools that we need to create healthy, harmonious relationship are contained within our soul, within our spirit self. And as you go forth in this series and you watch the Insight to Self, you'll know more what I'm talking about here. However, we all also have the ego mind, and that's represented by this outer part of the labyrinth, the love drama, the money drama, the housing drama, the career drama, the fitness drama, the health drama, the hair drama, what have you. We all have all of this stuff going on, and we tend to get lulled to sleep into believing that this is who we are. And as we do so, we get completely cut off from our sacred center, and we get disconnected from that. And we start thinking this is who we are, and we operate as if this is who we are, and it tends to create more drama and more strife and more difficulty instead of finding what I call soul-utions by accessing this part of ourselves. When we access this center, this authentic part of our being, we have the capacity to handle the love drama, the money drama, the fitness drama, what have you. And it's interesting that Einstein said, we can't solve problems from the same kind of thinking that created them. And I really stopped and looked at that. I like to take these concepts and go, what does this really mean? And really break it down. And I started thinking about that and thought, truly, if we are causing our problems from our ego mind, and we are creating all of this difficulty and struggle from this part of our being, and then we try to solve our problem from the same part of our being, it's not possible. We really need to access a different part of ourselves in order to address these problems. And so the work that you're going to embark on this journey, as you go forth, is to really access this part of yourself where you have access to an amazing level of creativity and wisdom and intuition and capability. And from there, bring that forth into all of those other circumstances where you can minimize the drama, if not eliminate the drama, and certainly stop feeding the drama as you go forth. So this is a really beautiful way to remember this. And later on, as you encounter the 6 essential life skills, you'll discover that the labyrinth is the perfect place to practice those. Because as we look at it, it's the perfect place to journey forth and practice the essential life skills so that we can achieve mastery with them. The sessions that you're about to watch are going to guide you through this process of finding all of the skills and all of the tools that you need, and providing some new skills and new tools that you need in order to create healthy, harmonious relationship. I like to share with people, though, that those relationships are not just your love relationships, although it's certainly applicable there. These relationships are all around us. And when we think about it, relationships are critically important, and they impact every part of our lives. Pretty much everybody is either trying to find one, repair one, rejuvenate one, get out of one, or make one better. We're all involved in relationships all the time. And that includes every area of our lives, from our personal love relationships to our family relationships, our work relationships, whether it's at school or at work or home, wherever have you. Even in the community at large with total strangers, our relationships impact our lives. So this material is going to help you in every area if you choose to apply it. So this first session of the orientation is to just introduce you to some of these concepts. But next, after this, and it doesn't really matter which order you watch it in, but I would recommend that you watch the 6 essential life skills first, because those are the practice that will guide you back into alignment with yourself so that you can transcend the ego. And then follow that with the Insight to Self session. That will help you kind of unpack a deeper understanding of who we really are and what happens to us as we grow up. And then you'll see that the 6 essential life skills are the very thing that help us turn that back around. After that, watch the ego dance. The ego dance will be that aha moment where you suddenly realize what's been going on in all your relationships and why you've been getting the outcomes that you've been getting, the ones that you don't really want. The ego dance is what we've all been doing quite blindly without even knowing it, and it creates and wreaks havoc in every relationship. And once we know, once we see what we've been doing, we have the capacity and the capability to do something different. After that is the Eros equation. And this is one of my most passionate topics because the Eros equation is a tool that you can use that will apply to every relationship in helping you become the most powerful and the most capable at solving your own relationship problems. And it almost gives you a recipe so that you can really see what other people are responsible for, what you are responsible for, and what will lead toward the outcome that you want. I end the whole series with an integration session because to me, and this is an interesting thing to note about the labyrinth, the walk into the labyrinth is preparation. That's the time where you're journeying to the sacred destination, the time where you may have had to clear your decks so you have the time to travel, you may have long distances you have to go, heavy loads you have to carry, and you have to clear the obstacles along the way and remove some things in order, maybe you have to overcome difficult journeys in order to get where you're going. The time in the center is where you soak up the new information, you soak up the energy of that place and allow it to filter in and impact your being. And the journey back out is for integration and implementation. And it's important to know this because if you don't have the integration and the implementation portion, if you're on a real pilgrimage, you may have just had a nice vacation and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to bring about true transformation, you want to integrate the information into your world, look at how it applies to your life, and then implement it by doing something differently. So right now we're kind of at the preparation stage where we're just sort of taking a step into the labyrinth and making our way. As we go forth, you're going to learn how to make your way through this pathway, navigate these waters until you reach the center, where you soak up all that information. And now, when we get to the integration piece, it's really going to be taking all of this, how to take it back and apply it in your everyday life. Everything that I'm sharing with you is immediately applicable. It can be used right away. You don't have to wait. You can practice it, try it, use it right now, and you will see immediate results. One of the important pieces that I want you to know is that I don't want you to just believe me. I don't want you to believe me at all, because what you'll see as we go forth is that beliefs are irrelevant. What we believe isn't necessarily true. So as you go forth, I don't want you to just believe anything I say to you. I want you to really play with it, look at it, feel it, experiment with it, and try it. And then see what the results are as a result. When you discover that what I'm saying to you makes a difference in your life, then if you choose to believe it because you know it, not just because I told you to. So we're going to venture through this labyrinth journey into your own heart, into our hearts, to access this amazing world of resourcefulness, once again full of source, where we can bring those skills, those qualities, those tools, and put them into use to bring about really powerful results in our lives so that everything gets better, from work to school, to home, to love, to our own sense of self-esteem, and our relationships with spirit and our relationship with our life at large. Enjoy the journey. So happy you're here with us.